We're going to bring our first guest on now, and our first guest is a real good friend of mine. I've kind of watched Keith grow up. How you doing, Keith?
How you doing, Rich?
Keith Kasperek, who is right now on tour with Sean Patrick McGraw and doing some stuff with Rick Monroe down in Nashville. Yeah. He's down in the Herd on the X show right now. Keith, tell me about Sean. A lot of stuff's going on with Sean.
He's got a lot of big things happening. He's got recently the Super Bowl picked up the song "Get Your Cowboy On," so they're going to be doing that, I guess, worldwide. A lot of tours. We're doing Eric Church in February, and then we kick off the Jaeger tour with Dirk Bentley and Josh Thompson. That should be March 17th. I think it kicks off. That'll probably take us into April, May, and then some Travis Tritt dates, I think. And then the Toby stuff starts.
So you guys, Sean has been at this for a while, and Sean's a local guy from Fredonia.
From Fredonia.
Okay, so Sean's Fredonia boy. He's been out touring on the country circuit for a long time.
Yeah, he's.
Tell me about your involvement with him, because we, like I say, the focus of this episode of Heard It on the X is that middle rung where you might get some really gravy gigs where you get a green room and you get a bunch of cool stuff, and you might get some gigs where you're in a van and you're in a bar, and that's kind of where you guys are at. Now, you started out being a guitar tech, actually.
Yeah, they brought me on. They brought me on at the end of '09 as a guitar tech, and from there it went from drum teching to anything he needed, and then stage managing, and then he was like, "Get up on stage with me."
Yeah, obviously you're a musician. You're a great musician. You play guitar, you play drums, but your first job was behind the scenes stuff. It wasn't on stage stuff.
Taking care of the band, getting them from A to B. Long hours, long drives. Making sure everything went smooth, because at that time it was on Toby tour, and there was no. They're riding around in $1 Million Prevosts, and we're riding around in an F-250.
Right.
And they get to sleep. They get to, eat right. And us, we literally drive from one gig and then show up for load-in, 8-10 hours away, and nobody got sleep. So that's how I started. And then as time went on, he just said, get up on stage. And, when it comes, the boss says, hey, get up.
So it actually worked out that from entering as a behind-the-scenes guy, you ended up on stage. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it wasn't your game plan. I don't think. I mean, it was, it's just the way things worked out. But
I had never really played country. Everything I learned from country, I pretty much learned from Sean. So it was nerve-wracking.
But you're making the most of this opportunity, obviously, because not only are you doing stuff with Sean, you've because of Sean, you came across Rick Monroe.
Right. They're both sponsored by Jaeger, so we were on the Jaeger tour last year, and that's how I met Rick.
And so, Rick, you're recording a new album with Rick, right?
Yes, coming up in end of February. I think we're going to be.
And right now, you got some support behind the album. You got some guys that are putting it together.
It's got a lot of support. A lot of people wanting to back it, and I think they're going to target Asia and Europe, because he does a lot overseas and around the world. So.
But once again, you just got a lot of irons in the fire, and you don't know what's gonna.
It changes every day. I mean,
what is your advice? Do you have advice for, say, somebody's in a local band and they're anywhere where you're hearing this broadcast, any of the affiliates or anything? If you're listening to, if you're in a local band or just starting out, or even somebody like Mason that we just talked about, what is the? I mean, do you just get in a van and go? Is that the best course of action?
You starve. You're broke. I mean, you've witnessed it. I mean, you've seen me come home off the road, and you're like, what happened to you? I mean, getting sponsored by alcohol endorsements really helps, because it fuels the go-to thing. But it just never give up. Music is always, and you've seen since I was a kid. I love it. I refuse to give up on it, and then. Always keep yourself open. If somebody calls you for a gig, even though it's in the middle of nowhere and it's 6 states away, take it. Get out there and learn everything you can and meet everybody you can and learn everything you can from everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the other thing, too, why I was listening to your answer, and I'm thinking, one thing that I think a lot of musicians have trouble with is marketing themselves and kind of losing that attitude. And I know, in the times that you've been on the road, you guys had run across musicians either in your own organization or other organizations that had attitudes, and you had to say, see ya. Because that just happens. I mean, musicians.
If you surround yourself with greatness, it's something you always told me. You surround yourself with greatness. That's the only way to be.
That's why Rich brought me along. Greatness.
That's right. I was looking for greatness.
Yeah.
So, as far as keeping the dream alive, it's just a day-to-day thing, right? I mean,
it is. It's a gamble. You never know. My phone rings. I'm in pajamas and my phone rings and they're saying you got to hit the road tomorrow and be in LA by this time, or me and Sean trekked across the country in a snap to just do one gig, but that's what it takes, and it's going to be a lot of heartache, a lot of time away from home. And the hard thing is, I think, for people is to just up and leave.
Right.
And it's, every musician's got, whether it's kids or parents or don't have no money. I mean, and this because you did it. You make just enough to maybe get to the next city.
That's right.
And then we eat, or do we get gas?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Shower's not even in the question. I mean,
it's a lifestyle. I mean, it's a commitment to a lifestyle. I mean,
and then you're sharing, whether it's on a tour bus or a truck or a van. You're in such close quarters with 4 and 5 other guys at all times, and it gets to a point to where you probably want to choke each other. But you know what? You're home for a day, and then the next day you're like, man, when's my phone going to ring? I want to go.
So once it's in your blood, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back on the other side of the break, talk a little bit more with Keith, and we're going to have Jay Medinsky from Regal Tip join us. Stick around, folks. Heard it on the X.